Cam Rogers here, taking a look at the Texans preseason profile, and let's look back to the key additions. Of course, the headliner name, the Honey Badger himself, Tyran Mathieu, coming on over from Arizona, and he provides incredible ability in that back end, of course, something the Texans have been missing for quite some time. Aaron Colvin is a really solid slot corner too. He comes on over from Jacksonville, and Zach Fulton there at guard should help at least a little bit on that offensive line that I'm going to talk about a lot today because I have my big-time concerns about it. So no first-round selections for the Houston Texans, of course. The key additions there, obviously, not going to break any headlines per se, but I do think they will be worthwhile. Now, in terms of the key losses, Brian Cushing, CJ Fiedorowicz, both retired, so they are out. Meanwhile, Derek Newton reportedly failed a physical and then was cut. So in terms of an offseason grade for the Houston Texans, did they get better as a football team? I say yes. I'm a tough grader, B-, and I guess you could say this is heavily inflated due to the signing of Mathieu. I don't think the Texans really did enough to address that offensive line. I still have a lot of question marks about it, and I am very worried about Deshaun Watson's long-term health, keeping that front five in mind there. So again, B- offseason grade. The Texans are a playoff contender. They got better in the offseason, so not the worst offseason in the world. And in terms of long-term prognostications, I'll get there in terms of Super Bowl 53, but they will be in the mix in the AFC South. All right, let's take a look at the preseason schedule here. They'll kick things off against the Kansas City Chiefs, followed by the 49ers. Then they take on the Rams. That's a really good dress rehearsal game. And then week 4 against the Dallas Cowboys. So let's zone in on that week 3 game against the Rams, August 25th, 4 o'clock Eastern time. One question, how much playing time for Deshaun Watson in this game? Like I mentioned, week 3 is usually that game where you see the starters in for a good chunk of time, usually at least a half. So coming off an ACL injury, it'll be important for Deshaun to at least see some action in this week 3 matchup, and boy, it'll be a good one against an elite secondary there for the Los Angeles Rams with Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib and John Johnson and LaMarcus Joyner at safety as well. Now, the offensive line, is it going to falter? If I'm Houston, I play Watson very sparingly in this game because Donald and Sue on that front line for LA will eat Nick Martin alive on the interior. That I can tell you. All right, let's go to the big-time training camp storylines here. Who is the backup quarterback for the Houston Texans? And this is my number one question because, again, I have my fair share of concerns for Watson's health as we go throughout the 2018 training camp season into preseason and, of course, the regular season. So as we stand, Brandon Weeden is the favorite for QB2. So I guess that's the good news in regards to, well, Tom Savage not being on that depth chart anymore. But Brandon Weeden, is he an upgrade over Tom Savage? I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I might want to just do a coin flip, but I will give the edge to Weeden over Savage there. And then, of course, you've got Stephen Morris also in the mix as well. Joe Webb could steal the role, who knows, but for Houston Texans fans out there, none of these guys really inspire you in terms of being that next guy up if Deshaun Watson, God forbid, did get hurt at some point. Next up, will the revamped offensive line improve? So I've been harping on this the entire show with good reason, because if the Texans can't protect Deshaun Watson, the Texans are in trouble. Now, Zach Fulton needs to step up at guard. Watch out for him. Nick Martin needs to at least stay healthy. He missed a couple games last year. Chantrell Henderson has been a disaster so far in his career, but maybe a change of scenery will help. And then there's some buzz about Martinez Rankin, a very raw project, could actually start at left tackle and beat out Davenport if he really impresses during training camp. But at the end of the day, this is a bottom-tier offensive line in the National Football League. Now, could we see the Texans have somewhat of a Minnesota Vikings type of season where the offensive line collectively just outplays its expectations? Very possible, and I won't rule that out, but as we stand, the talent on that front five really isn't that great. And then a big-time question for the coaching staff, especially Bill O'Brien. Make or break year for him. A lot of people are wondering, is he going to be on the hot seat this season if the Texans really don't pan out all that well? Say they win less than 7 games, or is he already on the hot seat? Let me know in comments. Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. I am a Bill O'Brien truther out there. I'm a big fan of what he does as an NFL head coach. The fact that he actually won games with Brock Osweiler and TJ Yates and Case Keenum at quarterback really is all I need to see to say that Bill O'Brien is a quality head coach. He just needs an opportunity, and I think Watson, healthy, will provide that. All right, let's go to the regular season schedule here, the first page, the first half. Well, they kick things off against the Super Bowl 53 favorites, New England Patriots, and then how about this? They travel to Tennessee to take on a really good Titans team. Then the Giants, the Colts, the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, the battle for the Lone Star State. Buffalo, Jacksonville, and then the Dolphins on Thursday night. Second page of the board here. Broncos, Redskins, Titans, and then the Browns. A couple of tough road games there, especially at Denver in November. It's always tough playing in that altitude. Then Week 14 against Indianapolis, Week 15 against the Jets. So that Week 13 to Week 15 window could be a good time for the Texans to really build some momentum, because then they travel to Philadelphia to take on the champs. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 17, where that game could come down to the division. Keep that in mind. So in terms of Super Bowl 53 odds, plus 1,800 for the Texans. My AFC South prediction, I got to put them third. Again, my concerns on that offensive line. I don't know if they can run block. I don't know if they can pass block. So in that vein, I have the Titans and the Jaguars as better teams than the Texans in this division. They will finish better than the Indianapolis Colts, Texans fans, so you got that going for you. But overall, this is going to be a dogfight among the Texans, Jags, and Titans for that division crown. So where will Houston finish in the AFC South? Let me know in comments. I want to hear from you guys, so be sure to chime in. Be sure to like our page on Facebook as well, facebook.com/ChatSports.